Christ says to those who would follow him, "Be in the world, but not of the world." What may appear a paradox, in fact, there is no contradiction here. We are flesh and soul. Our salvation is both in soul and body. Christ was incarnate because we do not transcend the flesh and the world. We must be living in the world to find our salvation. But what we must do is escape being so overly attached to the things of this world that we cause damage, injury to the soul. There is a sickness in the soul that allows the passions to grow, and when we are so overly attached to material things, to the material world, to the world of the flesh, then the sickness can grow, can overcome us. What follows is a series of teachings from Orthodox elders, from fathers and saints, about how we can defend, protect the soul from being so overly attached to the world that we truly are in the world, but not of it. St. John Climacus teaches us that the man who despises all that is material will be free of all arguments and quarrels. But the man who is covetous will fight to the death for a needle. And again, St. Basil the Great says to us, we must take wisdom from the world around us where there is wisdom. But where we find foolishness, we must understand why it is foolish. St. Gregory Palamas says, we fear being poor because we lack faith in the one who promises all things necessary for those who seek the kingdom of God. Elder Ephraim of Athos and Arizona says we should take courage, trust in God, because God is with us always. Even if we come face to face with the devil, if we are surrounded by armed enemies, always remember, harm can only come to us if God permits it. So let us take courage and remember, he says, our big brothers, the angels, are always with us, always watching us, always ready to guard us. Again, Elder Ephraim says to us, let us be patient, for the winter of our afflictions will pass, and with the spring will come the fragrance of God's grace. Elder Athanasius says to us, be humble in all things, for only to the humble does God give his grace. St. Maximus the Confessor says, let us never be satisfied with what sustains the life or seek what pampers it, but let us set all our hope, our expectation on the eternal rewards and treasures of God's kingdom. St. Isaac the Syrian says, anyone who believes they can lead the Christian life without good works is like a man who paints pictures of water on the wall and then dies of thirst beside it. Abba Elias says to us, we cannot expect to cut down the passions unless we first leave untoiled the soil from which they grow. St. Gregory the Great warns us. He says there are some who judge the Old Testament as stricter than the New. But St. Gregory says such a judgment is foolish. In the Old Testament, we are condemned, judged for stealing the property of our neighbour. But as followers of Christ, in the New Testament, St. Gregory says we will be judged not just for whether we have stolen or not, but whether we have shared the property that is ours. A pilgrim asked Elder Gabriel, "What is faith?" Elder Gabriel said to him, "Faith is the inner acceptance of truth. Christ is the truth." Speaking of the importance of the church in our lives, St. Cyprian says to us, "Do not think that you proclaim the gospel of Christ if you separate yourself from the flock of Christ."